Xcel Energy became the first major energy company in the nation this week to issue a promise to go carbon emissions free in the future. The company announced that it pledges to cut carbon emissions by 80% by 2030 and completely by 2050. Eric, anytime I see a promise that's going to happen 30 years from now, I'm a little dubious because
32.
you can almost promise anything. I won't be taller by 2050, but anything else I can almost promise. What did you think when you saw this headline today, or this week?
I thought interesting, obviously a way to curry favor with Governor-elect Polis here, who has made this a major part of his platform. I think he promised it by 2040 in the primary campaign, but everyone was trying to one-up each other with those promises back during the primary. But I wasn't overwhelmed with it. It strikes me as an easy promise on two levels. One is, as you point out, Dominic, whether it's 2030 or 2050, these are way, way in the future. I mean, companies do 5-year plans. I'm not aware that companies do 32-year plans. None of us sitting around this table know what technology, energy sector technology, or any kind of technology is going to look like at that point in time. And secondly, it is relatively easy for Xcel to make this promise when their return on investment is basically guaranteed. They go to the PUC or whatever the regulatory body is in the state that they're operating, and they get their return more or less guaranteed here. So the question is not can we do this, the question is at what cost and who is going to bear that cost?
I have a feeling we're going to get the answer to that question pretty quickly. Joey, what do you, I guess my instinct in seeing these headlines this week was this all sounds like rainbows and unicorns, but there's got to be a catch. I didn't go into it enough to find out where that catch is, but I'm still convinced there is one. What do you think?
Well, I think the catch is going to be higher utility prices in the short term. That's and this Eric's absolutely right. He milked this cow so well that none of us at this table are going to be here well, Patty will be,
Yes.
in 32 more years. Patty is, I think after the apocalypse, we'll have cockroaches, Cher, and Patty, and Lynn Bartles will write the blog about it. So, and I pushed Polis on, how are we going to get to this 100% renewable energy during the campaign? And he says it's a ground-up approach. And well, when it's a ground-up approach, you can always blame the ground if it doesn't happen. So, I think it's a laudable goal. I think it reflects the politics of the moment. But in 5 years, Xcel's not going to remember this, and they're going to say, we're working on it. We're really going to kick it in those last 4 or 5 years before 2050. The Sierra Club has gotten a lot of cities around the state to commit to 2030. So I don't know that any of us really know what the year is or the timetable is. It's more about keeping it all moving in that direction and keeping it a popular talking point. And I think Xcel, even though they operate in several states, they see where the politics of the moment are, and they are with Jared Polis on renewable energy. I think the Colorado Oil and Gas Association has a much different position on this, and they have money and political might to sell that message.
If anyone ever wonders why Joey's nickname around here is Ratings Gold, all they got to do is watch that last segment and realize exactly how he earned his nickname. Patty, since you'll be around to see how all this turns out, what do you think when you saw these claims from Xcel Energy?
Well, with the cockroaches and Cher, and I'm not sure who I want, and Lynn. Lynn and I will have some fun, but I'm a little worried about the cockroaches. Think back 32 years ago. So Denver was in the middle of the oil bust, and at the time we're thinking, we're going to be all solar energy and we'll be in flying cars, or the apocalypse would have come. So it's a very nice visual for Jared Polis. After the most recent climate change report, it's important that we remember that we still have problems here, but we'll see. The cockroaches and I will see what's really happening in 2050.
The cockroach overlords of 2050. David, the cynical side of me saying is, here's our plan for 2030 and 2050. The underscript there would have been our promise to gouge customers to pay for said rainbows and unicorns. But I'm hoping I'm just lobbing a softball to you. Your thoughts?
Well, as Eric said, everything that Xcel spends on wind or solar and infrastructure, they always make a profit on it because that's built into the unfair monopoly that they have currently been given by law. Global warming is certainly a problem that should be addressed. But I think this is more about crony capitalism, which is in practice indistinguishable from crony socialism, about Xcel finding more ways to put more money in its own pocket. Its duty as a public utility is to provide affordable energy and reliable energy. That's the opposite of this solar and wind stuff, which they are planning on, because the sun doesn't always shine and there's clouds in the way, and the wind doesn't always blow. So you have to have backup sources, and we know that this is going to jack up prices for energy, which some people can afford, but is really hard on low-income people who spend a lot of money on, heating their trailer home or for electricity. If they were serious about tackling global warming and fulfilling their mandates to provide affordable and reliable energy, they would be going very strongly into nuclear power. But that's not politically correct. So instead, we're going to get failed approaches that will raise prices and reduce reliability, but increase Xcel dividends.